All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience while we get stuff moving here. Appreciate you. Again, thanks for joining us. For those of you that might be in the LA area, we hope you all are safe and doing okay under the circumstances, all the crazy fires. Julia, I'm gonna be working in the background here and make you the host because I'm dealing with like crazy winds. So if my power goes out and internet, I don't want the whole thing to close out.
Oh,
So
sure.
I will be doing that. But other than that, welcome to today's webinar. We are going to be discussing the year-end wrap-up. Thank goodness it is finally here. How to use Studio Designer for tax prep and financial planning, which I'm sure is on everybody's mind. And as always, the brilliant and talented Julia is here to help us out with that stuff. So, Julia, under your circumstances, thank you for joining us and being here to do this.
Oh, well, apologies for the stuffiness, but yes, excited to get started.
You're like the only one that I know that's excited about tax prep and financial planning.
It's exciting. I know you like it. I think you're really secretly deep down, probably
It,
what you dream about.
it's one of my guilty pleasures, I'm
I
sure.
know. Oh yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So, for all of you who haven't met Julia yet, she runs New Age Financial Consulting. She's a bookkeeper and accounting support extraordinaire, including CFO services and large small business for large and small businesses. She specializes in unique and complex accounting needs of interior design firms and showrooms like y'all's. And she also has a comprehensive procurement service that she can offer to designers that want to work with her. So I will be presenting Julie's contact information at the end of the webinar if y'all want to reach out. She's a great resource and a tremendous help to our design community. Last house cleaning item that we want to go over, we do have a Q&A session attached to this. So if you have questions, click the little question mark box now. I think it is on your Zoom toolbar, and you'll get a little window that'll pop up similar to the one that you see on my screen here or on your screen, however you want to look at it. Make sure you put in your questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll try to get to as many as we possibly can after Julia's done with the content. And with that being said, Julia, take it away.
Okay, so before you make me the host, let's make sure I can share the correct screen. Studio?
Yep, studio.
Okay, perfect. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. If you're in LA, hope everyone is safe. As Anthony has mentioned, so wherever your toolbar is for Zoom, there's this little Q&A box. So a lot of times it makes sense to ask the questions in real time if we're concentrating on a specific section or if you want us to take a deeper dive. So feel free to send those through as we're working through a particular area. I do see those in real time. So for today, I can't believe it, right? I think it's I don't know what day of the week. It's the 8th. So 2024 is wrapped up. You do have one additional tax estimate to make on the 15th of January for those of you who that's applicable to. So keep that in mind. And this is a great time of the year to really, I think, reevaluate some of your key aspects of your accounting processes and some of the higher level things. So not necessarily how to enter items or anything like that, but really the reports. So again, if any of you have ever joined one of my webinars, I'm a longtime studio user. I actually really love the report section. So right click on reports, open them up in another tab. They'll populate up here. Remember, you could have as many tabs open as you would like. And then move over here to your legacy reports, right? So for this time of year, this is really where you should be spending a lot of your time, a lot of your time in. Before you, excuse me, before you dive in to this section, just also as a friendly reminder, and so we could pull our balance sheet, but remember to reconcile, right? Reconcile, reconcile, reconcile. And this, if you go to your accounting tab and you go to this reconciliation tab, right click again, it'll open up at the top. So remember, we're in a test database. A lot of us share it. The test database is a great time but it's not reconciled. And so it has a lot of goofy data in it. But so your reconciliation screen is similar to any reconciliation screen in any accounting software, right? And so what does it mean to reconcile? It's your double check of what's happening in your general ledger, right? So all of these debits and credits in here and on your bank statement. And so if you notice up here, you have these little sections that say beginning balance, and then bank balance, and then you have your reconciled column, beginning balance and bank balance. So let's pretend, and I have in my test database, we bank with 12 different banks because that sounds like such a good time. Let's see what's happening in Chase. Oh, Chase is super old. All right, well, let's go to Chase and say, all right, Chase, it's 12/31. That was my ending bank statement. It's funny, if this was a real database, this would be such a problem.
Wait, so you
But
mean Tom Hanks isn't really your client?
I know 19th Street, yes, maybe he is. And first of all, it used to be in here as like Tim Hanks or something, but I just changed it. It was Robert set that up, and I was like, no. If we're gonna go, we're
Let's
gonna
go.
pretend all the way. Well, and wait. And Tom Hanks, hello, they have $732,000 in client funds because why wouldn't they?
Well, that's fun to play with. I like that.
And it's super easy. So every time we're in a webinar, I'm like, well, this particular client, they're just so easy to work with. They send us all this money because that happens. Yeah.
Of course, of course.
You're so funny. Sometimes you need a chuckle. So again, if this was a real database, this would not be a chuckle. This would be a problem. But just pretend, right? And so pretend that we've done all of our reconciliations through November, and now we're only working on December. And we do, sort of like good, not bad, but we need to reconcile for all of our cash accounts and all of our liabilities. So we'll see that on our balance sheet up here. But let's just talk about this little section because we get the question a lot of, it's funny, it's hard to do without a real bank statement, but what's the difference between outstanding and your reconciled column? So in Studio, I don't know if anything's ever been reconciled in here. In Studio, and again, different softwares work a little bit differently, but in Studio, you're able to move on. So even though we didn't reconcile November 30th, the November statement for 2024, we're able to move on to the December statement. And we're able to go back to the October statement. So you don't necessarily need a hard close on a month to move on to the following month. I personally love the flexibility. For somebody like in my role, it really allows to keep information flowing. But you can get into some trouble because when your number in this column, your bank balance here, and your reconciled bank balance don't match, that means that you missed a transaction at some point in time in your database. And that's literally what that means. It means that because the outstanding column here is an accumulation of all of your reconciled columns. So if we put in a fake number in here, let's put in 25,000. Well, let's actually go back to October because look, we have one transaction from October. So in October, we opened our bank balance at 25,000. And we have one very tiny receipt for $1.61. We're going to reconcile it. And so if you notice, right, our bank balance is now 25,001.61. That is nowhere near close to this bank balance of 99,451. And so conceptually, again, like what does that mean? That means we missed something in one of these rolling bank reconciliations. Which one? Honestly, I mean, you don't know, and how you find it. And this is a great exercise. If you've never done this, this could become, for somebody like myself, immensely enjoyable, but like interesting, right? Because it's a great puzzle. But so if you've never done this, how you go about it is you just go back month by month. So let's pretend that I know I've done it. I've reconciled Wells Fargo every month. I'm a little bit behind. I did October, and I'm like, oh shoot, there's this really big discrepancy. So I go back to September. I open up you need your bank statements. Go to your actual bank statements. Hopefully they're saved electronically. Put in your real beginning balance. I don't know what these numbers are, so whatever. We're making some stuff up. put in your real beginning balance from your bank statement and then see, does this number match this number? Yes or no? If it doesn't, keep going. So you go back to the previous month and you're going to go back in time and you're going to find a point where they match. And so what that means is, right, so if they matched in July 2022 and then they were incorrect in July 2023, that means July 2023 is your first sort of error. Now, remember, Studio does closed years, but actually, Anthony, I'm not clear, and this is a great question for you. We didn't have to manually open 2025 this year, which is different.
Correct.
So does that mean 2023 is still open?
It,
But yeah,
it's possible. I think the limit, and I can double check, but I think the limit on years that you can have open has either been increased or done away with. So if 2023 was not manually closed, then it would need to be closed. But I think the ability to have more than, I think it was 2 years open,
yes,
taken at a time, I think that part has gone away.
but so again, so everyone's 2025 automatically was open, but everyone still needs to go in and technically close 2023 if they're ready to do so, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so that is new. For those of you on today's webinar, that is a new feature or release this year. So before, we used to have to go into accounting and close the year on, I would say, the 2nd of January to close out 2023 and get 2025 into your general ledger, meaning that for the date to populate. So now Studio automatically opened everybody's 2025, but going into this tab, accounting and close the year, you should also be doing this as well to ask yourself or to just familiarize to say, okay, well, what year is open? And if 2023 is open, are you ready to close it? Do you have all your journal entries? Are your tax returns filed? Like, we have a couple people, for example, that are still stragglers. Like they're new to us. I don't remember if they're new to Studio, maybe, but so we're actually still importing 2023 GL for so somebody like that, we're not closing their 2023. We don't, right? I need it open. But if you know that your 2023 is accurate and buttoned up and it matches your tax return, go into this tab. And so in our case, 2023 has been closed in our test database, but yours should say close 2023. And then you could hit this button and all of the correct entries in terms of adjusting and opening balances in Studio will occur automatically for you. So definitely check in on that as it's still early enough in the year in terms of 2025. So sorry, back to reconciliations. So this is again a really great exercise. I mean, it's something you should be doing, I would say, always, right? So if you notice that, and the earlier you catch this, the easier your life is, right? So if you caught this in oh, how did we get here? Because I said, what if you have a discrepancy in 2023? But 2023, so let's say we're in this scenario, we're in Wells Fargo, we have this giant, it's funny, our made up bank balance has made our error different. We have a really large discrepancy between something that's been reconciled and our bank statement, right? And so I've been going back and back and back, and I finally found that in 2023, actually, I would really like to, oh, look, this really was reconciled. Oh, that's so wild. I mean, it was reconciled in fake land, but that's the last time.
Practice makes perfect.
Oh, how funny. So, and look, all of these transactions from June were reconciled in August. Great. I wonder what this number is. So in what is this month? In August 2023, I did a reconciliation and it still didn't tie out and it tied out. Let's pretend. And so then I'm noticing that when I go to September, shoot, I don't know how it happened. I totally didn't reconcile September. But what you're going to run into is if your 2023 is closed and you find your actual discrepancies between the bank statement and your GL, you're going to have to enter them into your general ledger, like into this checkbook register with a 1/1 2024 date or 2025 date, whatever really you're more comfortable with. So again, if that process is not familiar to you, reach out to support. If you line up here and here, that's amazing. You've been doing a fantastic job. You get an A plus plus. I would say too, like if you have a couple cent discrepancies, I usually don't necessarily worry about it. For me, anything under $1, I don't research. Um, and then even over $1 really depends on the size of the firm. So if we're transacting millions of dollars and we're off by $1 or two, I won't necessarily go back and research the discrepancy. If it's something that stands out to me, like a flat $25 or a flat $50 or $100, at that point I definitely say, okay, let me go find it. And if the firm is slightly smaller revenue wise, we will research a couple dollars. So sometimes this discrepancy, we determine how far back we go based upon how much money sort of is transacted both in and out. So let's actually go back to our reporting screen, because a lot of times to then understand reconciliations, looking at the balance sheet makes a lot of sense. So go to your balance sheet. It automatically defaults to January. So it's funny, I've been pulling 2025 reports all week. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Why is everything zero? So change to 2024, note to self. And so here's your balance sheet through December. And so we'll definitely look at income statement and talk about tax deductions, but start with your balance sheet. And this is where you're going to make a note to yourself to say, okay, where are my asset accounts? They are up here. We'll talk about all of our mistakes in the test database. Where are my liabilities? We're very diversified on the banking front and on the credit card front. Can you imagine logging into what looks like 15 bank accounts? So we would need to reconcile Citizens through end of the year. We would need to reconcile Wells Fargo, right? Keep going down the list. I have a couple goofy things in here like Baker Credit, which I've talked about now. I don't know for how many years. This is entered incorrectly.
Would any of those accounts be Swiss bank accounts or maybe based out of the Cayman Islands by any chance?
Maybe the one that says cash account alternative. Like, what does that mean?
That's a
That
good.
was not me. That's really, I like undeposited funds too, right? So like this is your, especially right, it's only the 8th, right? It's not like we're in crunch time and we're 4/14 and we're shoot, we have to file taxes tomorrow. This is your first like go around, in my opinion. This is where you pull it to say, okay, what do I need to concentrate on? I have some time. 1099s aren't quite due yet because remember, you need to be reconciled for 1099s. This is a good place to get started and say, what should I be concentrating my efforts on? Or if you don't know, who do I need to reach out to help me understand what I should be concentrating my efforts on? So pull your balance sheet, right? Look at your cash accounts. Ask yourself, do they look? Sometimes you could just tell, right? First of all, why is Baker Credit all in uppercase? That kind of stuff drives me crazy.
Well, here's something that has probably been driving a lot of folks crazy, and I have good news. So as of tomorrow, we have our monthly release that's coming out. And with that, not the forms, but the 1099 reports will be available back in studio. Those were not supposed to be removed in the first place, only the forms. So the 1099
Oh,
reports will be available tomorrow with our release.
oh, that's great.
Definitely.
Um, Actually, Chris has a great question. So on this balance sheet, suspense is under an asset account. I think it normally is actually, is sort of my recollection. It used to always be account 191, even in the old desktop database. And my memory serves me that that is still the case even in, yep, even in in the new studio. But at the same time too, Chris, it really doesn't matter because right, suspense. So this is a great fact, and this is a great example. Suspense should be zero. So suspense is a wash account, right? People use it for different reasons, but when you're filing your taxes, suspense isn't going on your tax return. This should be zero. So whether you've moved it from an asset account as it was set up in studio to liability, at the end of the day, yes, it should be zero. So review these high level, right? Like if you know your inventory is in 154,000 and you've really sold everything and you only have a couple $1,000s left, the cause for concern, right? Something is wrong. AR clearing, I don't I don't know what that is. Typically, that would be part of my migration. Something is wrong. We could talk about the subledgers for accounts receivable and accounts payable. We talk about those actually, I would say, a lot when closing the year, and same with client deposit. Then go to all of your credit cards, right? So all of these need to be reconciled, including anything that's related to a line of credit. And even your line of credit, that lovely fun example of running balance, that would exist for a line of credit too. Remember, your credit cards in your reconciliation screen will be a negative. So this number will not be a positive, and this beginning balance number will not be a positive. Those will be negatives because it's a credit on your balance sheet. Um, Loan inventory, right? Like this is again, first go around. Remember, if anyone does have an EIDL loan, interest most, unless you decided to defer, again, because you were given the option, I want to say at some point last year, just with like an automatic click of a button in the SBA website. If you have an EIDL loan, the disaster relief loan, your payments now are interest and principal. So make sure you're reflecting those accordingly. Make sure you're logging into the portal and checking what that end of the year bank balance is. If you do have a loan, also make note, in my recollection, is that they don't necessarily give you a loan statement. You can see the breakout. But if you log in now to look at what your balance is for end of last year, you'll be doing a lot less manual math. Because of course they didn't make it easy. Okay, so those are some of the higher levels on the balance sheet. If we move over to actually let's look at our subledgers, because this is again just a great double check. We talked about this in December. We'll talk about it again, and in the test database we actually don't. Our subledgers don't tie, which is great. So if you go to your client deposit, just as one example, I don't want to see my zeros. I never like that. I'm not remembering my year. So my client deposit total is 3488380. And if you notice, it does not match my total here on my balance sheet. So this total technically on this from this report rolls over onto here. So something is wrong. You could go back through your balance sheet to say, okay, well, when did it tie? Same like we did with that reconciliation screen to say, okay, let's find a period of time where I don't have a mistake. But then from there, you can try to go to the GL and find the dollar value, look for the GL for the discrepancy in the GL, meaning if you're off by, I don't know what this number is. We have found this before, by the way. It just means something is wrong with an entry. A lot of times too, in a case like this, where this ledger doesn't match, you're actually not going to be able to solve it yourself, meaning you can't fix it. So if you could identify the problem, you would have to actually email support to say, hey, my client deposit subledger doesn't match my balance sheet. I've identified the problem to be this transaction. Here's the screenshot. Can you help me fix it on the back end? So the accounts that have secondary schedules are client deposit, accounts payable, inventory. I mean, the inventory subledger should match as well, and accounts receivable. And you can look at vendor deposits as well. I actually usually worry about those a little bit less. Where there they are, vendor deposits. So again, this is a lot of work to do anyway. So starting out with any of these is better than none. So pick, I think, one of the areas that you're maybe most comfortable with, and then work your way from there. So let's actually leave our balance sheet open. We're going to move it over. Should we leave our client deposit open? Yes, because it impacts our income statement. And then let's go to our income statement and check in. Remember to change your year. So what do we have going on in here? Oh, we did relatively well in our fake land. Actually, we didn't do that great in terms of time billing. Our time billing was low. All right, areas for improvement. So what is this saying to me? So my income statement at the top in terms of income sales, this is telling me all product revenue. So anything that's an item that's been invoiced, again, if we're using the software correctly, we've recognized $1.2 million in product revenue. As a really great check-in, and we've discussed this, I would say multiple times, but just always a really great reminder. Your client deposit report here tells you all of the money received from clients that hasn't been recognized in revenue. And there's two buckets, right? There's the bucket that's called proposal deposits here, 1,049,000. And then, whoa, we have a whopping 2.4 in additional client funds. And actually, if you notice, I was going to say we're upside down in cash, but we're not. And we have 2.3 and 2 here. I didn't notice both of those had a big asset value. What I normally can't confirm. So this is where we would go back to the design firm to say, hey, this is what I'm showing on your income statement. Are you sure we've invoiced everything we should have invoiced for 2024? And so the client deposit report would go hand in hand with that. And this is now what becomes, I would say, a fine line. And some of it depends on comfort level. Some of it depends on tax estimates. Some of it depends on, are you filing cash or accrual? How do you manage all of that? Right. So Studio Designer, the reports coming out of here are accrual only, which is why it's only recognizing revenue that's been invoiced, right? And the rest of it lives in proposal deposits and funds available. I would say in theory, your tax return should be filed on accrual only as well, but there are tax implications to switching. So just definitely make sure you're double checking with the correct party on that. And then if you get this report from me or you pull it yourself and you say, oh, you know what, this 1,049,000, I know there's really old projects in here that I forgot to invoice. So sometimes it becomes a bigger conversation with who's ever filing your return, or if you're really in tune with what you've been paying tax estimates on. So at the moment, we're showing almost a $1.2 million profit. We have not done a good job with expenses, as you can see, at all. Or maybe we're just so lean that we're this profitable. You never know. If I continue to invoice and backdate into 2024, I will continue to increase this number. And so am I prepared to do that? I would say the answer to you isn't necessary. It's not a right or a wrong, right? It's not a yes or a no. It really just depends. It depends on your own personal situation. You can backdate invoices in Studio. So I'm going to just show you how to do that, but I'm going to caution you to make sure that you're only doing that when appropriate. So if you go to settings and you go to my employees, maybe you go to my name, well, your name, wherever your name is, and you go to the edit pencil button. If you scroll down, you have this accounting date in here. So think about the entries in Studio. So when you make an invoice or a purchase order or a proposal, there is no date that's getting selected, right? You don't push a date and then the date populates. The proposal, purchase order, and invoice date comes from this box right here. So if this box is blank, as states in this little red box, the accounting date will be pre or post date orders and invoices. Leave the accounting date blank for the current date. So if this is blank, all POs and invoices and proposals are dated with today's date. But if you backdate this to 12/31, your purchase orders, your invoices, and your proposals will be backdated to 12/31. Think about anything in your accounting screen. In money in, you pick a date, right? So that's why the accounting date doesn't impact your money in date. Think about going to a money out, go to order. You have a date in here too. So money, cash disbursements, cash receipts, you select the GL date. Purchase orders, proposals, and invoices, you do not. So, but again, mindful, right? So if we paid estimated taxes on 750,000 and I'm now showing at 1.15 and I'm looking at my client deposit sheet and I'm saying to myself, oh golly, I actually missed, like $250,000 worth of items on closed projects. Is 2024 the year to capture those? I mean, I can't answer that. My answer to you would be, I don't know, reach out and ask a whole bunch of, educated questions. Also remember, I mean, yes, you have the ability to backdate and actually change that accounting date at any point in time. It won't let you if your year is closed, but if your year isn't closed, it will. But if you file sales tax on a monthly basis, right, you certainly don't want to throw something into November if you've already filed sales tax in November. If you're looking to wrap up your year, right, it's the 8th of January, and you're filing sales tax the 20th of this month, you only have another 12 days to say to yourself, okay, well, what other revenue do I need to capture in the previous year? There's another great question about client deposit. So if you find problems with client deposit or similar subledgers from a closed year, can you make the correction using a 1/1 date in an open year? Will that cause any issues on the back end? So my answer to you is going to be, I mean, yes, but sometimes it's not necessarily a an issue that you can correct. And Anthony, chime in if you feel like you could explain it better. Sometimes it's a ledger entry issue. So support actually needs to fix it because something in the way that debit and that credit, it's in there and you could see that it's in there, but it could be missing an account as an example. It could be a misapplied client payment. It could have been triggered as a receive and apply versus just a receive as an example. So in my experience, when the subledgers don't match, it tends to be an issue that support needs to solve once you've identified it. Anthony, would you agree with that?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, because the ledgers are supposed to match, right? So something is obviously off. Um, so if you could identify the transactions, I mean, let's assume it's a singular. It makes life a lot easier for studio for sure. And then they could just go into that entry and correct the type of entry that it is. Okay. So let's go back to our very profitable income statement. So our income statement, right, where we talked about product sales, are we recognizing more revenue? Are we not? Our income time billing, you should be evaluating, okay, how does that relate to my salaries? How does that relate to my product? We don't have any salaries. We also have a $50,000 gift under computer and software.
I neither confirm nor deny on that one.
Well, $50,000 gift is probably a no-no.
It's
If
a
I
hell of a Mac computer, let me tell you though.
There's an actual, it's funny, we talk about this a lot because end of the year, about like business gifts, there's an IRS limit for like a true IRS limit and recommendation for a business gift. And I want to say it's like $26. That's what they recommend to gift. So like if you're giving a vendor gift, you're technically supposed to spend up to, it's either 23 or $26. Which is obviously, that's like a Starbucks, maybe two. So $50,000 gift on your GL will not fly. So you have to recategorize this or figure out what it is. But this would be the time of year too. Let's again, we've reconciled everything. We're diving into our subledgers. We're not 100%, but we're pretty close. When you pull your income statement, unfortunately, our expenses are really small. But look at these to say, did I miss anything? Is my cell phone getting paid out of the business? What's my comfort level in terms of deducting that? Do I pay it all out of the business? Is it some of it personal, some of it business, etc.? What do you do with auto expenses, right? This number here is really little. What do you do with mileage? What do you do with transportation? What do you do with travel? But if you're not seeing big expense numbers here, which were, hold on, I'm gonna go look at this entertainment thing. Which we're not, because it's the beginning of a new year. AA, as in, I was gonna say, not American Airlines, but all right.
You were digging so deep today, Julia, that I feel like I'm being audited.
That's good. Audits are back, Anthony. They were on a pretty great hiatus from 2020 to 2023. But we really, that September 23, I think we were hit with 3 audits that quarter in quarter 4. So no, I mean, they're back and this is, it's like when we're supposed to reflect, I'm supposed to, it's funny, but we're supposed to reflect personally, right, on our year and what we want to do differently. This is no in my opinion, like this is no different, right? What do my expenses look like? What did I miss? What do I want to do differently for 2025? It's so much easier to have a comprehensive full year in your general ledger. For you to then use as a baseline moving forward for things such as, cash flows and managing expenses. And so two, and not all of our, well, I would say, yes, not all of our principals are asking for this level of detail, but if you have a really large number of expenses here and somebody says, okay, well, can you show me the breakdown of all of that? Actually, the easiest way to do that for a principal, because that's when you're going to know if you missed something, is to go to legacy. So reports legacy, go to general ledger, January to December, change your year again, don't forget, like me. And oops, pick your first expense account, just the administrative expenses, and then your last one. I don't know why retainer account is in here. It shouldn't be. This should really be your last one. And this will allow someone to see all of the random, all of the expenses that are attributed to each of the line items on the income statement. Right, so if we're trying to say, and this is a great example, shoot, I know my Lexus payment comes out every single month. What happened? And so this is telling me it only came out twice, plus the BMW. But then does that mean I paid for it personally? And what should I do about that, right? Should I make the transfer out of the business to my personal account? Should I just make a journal entry? Should I talk to somebody about what to do? I forgot. I don't know what happened. The auto pay stopped and I was mailing checks from my personal, account, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's a multitude of scenarios, but diving into it now will just set you up for success, I would say later. Somebody's asking where the client deposit report is. Yes, so go to reports. Actually, let's keep that GL up. So go to reports. Actually, let's close at the top and hope it doesn't remember. Let's go to reports. Go to reports. Oh, it's still remembering. And go to legacy up here. This is, I mean, I usually always go to all or legacy. Legacy, I like the layout. It's funny, I think Anthony and I have this conversation a lot. It just makes it very, in my opinion, easy to read and find. And so if you go to your legacy reports, the 50/40 client deposit report is in the 4th column over. And you could run it through end of the year if you're trying to tie it to your balance sheet. You could run it through today. I like to exclude zeros, but that's just personal preference of mine. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, excuse me. Oh, golly. Fill in your date. You could narrow it down by project. For this exercise, you wouldn't want to do that. Or by client. So now we're back into this report, right? So let's say you sent this to your principal or you're pulling this for yourself to say, oh, I know I had additional charitable contributions. I don't even see that they're on here. Let me pull those out of my personal credit card. Let me go through my expenses. And again, if you make sure that all of the business expenses are tied to either one of the cash or credit card accounts, remember in our case, we have a plethora to choose from. It will make this process next year so much easier. I have to avoid this. I can't look at it. Okay. An A is a gift? Like, what does that even mean? Let's see. Oh, good. It wasn't reconciled. Oh, and it's just an office payment. Okay, we're deleting. It doesn't work. Doesn't work for a lot of different reasons. Okay, we got rid of it. And thankfully we're not reconciled, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so we see some merchant fees. I'm noticing that it looks like a lot of my Amazons aren't in here, so that is a note to myself to say, well, let me go see how Amazon was paid. It's obviously not tied to one of the business cards, etc. I'm expensing some Costco. We're assuming it's office supplies. Utilities, I don't see any subcontractors. So all things for me to work on as the year is wrapping up. So remember, I would say start with your reconciliation screens, pull your balance sheet and your income statement, pull those subledgers, make sure that you're reconciled for the very, very lovely 1099s, which are right around the corner, due on the 31st. 31st. Due electronically too for anyone who files over 10. So that is a change. And really just begin, I think, working through the data and setting up healthy habits for 2025. I know we're a few minutes early. Let me know if you have any questions, any specific questions, anything related to what we've talked about. Year end, I don't know if there's another 1099 webinar.
Let
Anthony, do you
me
offhand?
let me double check because I actually have calendar up here. I don't believe so.
I mean, they
Uh,
are recorded too, so that they're a great useful tool.
I think we have
Also.
we have one. Are you ready for taxes on April 2nd? But that's really the only one that I see that could be related.
Mhm. I mean, so the pre-recorded in terms of 1099s are going to be the best bet. Don't leave that for the 30th. So again, if you're not familiar, look at the Learning Hub. That'll have some great resources. Um, Let me know if anyone has any other questions.
There we go. So my client deposit report, if I exclude the zeros, if it will only show a few clients, and if I include the zeros, it shows all the clients.
So, I mean, yes, that is correct. The client deposit report, though, is only showing you like the goal of it, right? So if I take the note out, is to tell you the dollars. So like, let's look at this. It's funny. So Hannah works for Studio. So Hannah paid for something, and well, that's a bad example. Invoice. So Mercy Way, so they paid $9,000 and their invoice payments are $9,000. So they don't have anything in client deposit because proposal deposit and funds available are zero, meaning client deposit is zero. So if you filter them off, they wouldn't be on your report. But what I will say is your client list, your actual list here, or anywhere, right? Here, you go to clients, should only be your active client list. So if you don't have a client closeout project, you should, because if a client has been closed out, they should no longer appear on this list, especially if they're 0, 0, and 0.
Yeah, Gabby followed up and said that the dollars are different in both reports.
I don't, which they would be, the client deposit one should be the same though. So, right, if you're looking at invoice payments and funds received, they would be different, but client deposit should be the same. So I pulled one without any filters. I'm at 3.488 here. And then if I pull one saying no, my client deposit number is 3.488. Correct. Yeah. So this report, the one that we're looking at, is its goal is to give you the total of this column proposal and this column funds available. But that's a great observation.
All right, well, it looks those are all of the questions that we have. Anybody else have any last minute questions? We can give you all back some time and let you get back to your day, which it is Wednesday. Just to make sure everybody's on the same page today. What is the process of closing out a client? That's a good question.
I mean, that's a great question. I would actually say it's a really comprehensive one. So, Anthony, maybe we could make note of what reports to pull for that. I want to say I'm looking at 5 or 6 different reports for closing out at a client. So that definitely makes sense to start on, or to have a webinar from start to finish for that.
Gotcha. Making a note now. All right. Well, with that being said, Julia, we hope you feel better. Thank you for joining
Oh,
today and doing the webinar under the weather. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know why that was so difficult, but in any event, thank you so much as usual. Hope you feel
thank
better.
you.
Everybody, stay safe. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, Anthony. Talk to you soon.
All righty, later.
All right, bye-bye.